to the Awakened Radio Network. Visit our website at www.awakenedradio.net, where you can find out all about the Awakened Radio host, take part in our forum, and chat with us in our live mobile chat room. Want to listen on the go? Go to tunein.com, download their free app, and search for Awakened Radio. We are always here for you on the Awakened Radio Network. Have you experienced the power of one? A brand new challenge for all of our hosts and listeners at the Awakened Radio Network is the power of one. One person taking one action. And through the power of agreement, that action creating mightily. Find out all about the power of one at awakenedradio.net. Discover how you can help to create with other people, one person at a time. Awakened Radio is brought to you in part by the Awakened Store at awakenedradio.net. You'll find autographed copies of Dr. Main's books, guided meditations by Rob Brackazine and Dr. Main, Native American style dream catchers, medicine gemstone jewelry, stones, crystals, and a whole lot more. Support the Awakened Radio Network by visiting the Awakened Store today. awakenedradio.net. We understand and activate the power of one.
Hello and welcome to Evolutionary Women Radio Show with Pernilla Rose, where authentic feminine power is making a difference in the world. Hello everyone and welcome to Evolutionary Women Radio Show. This is your host, Pernilla Rose, and this is the last show we are broadcasting here called Evolutionary Women Radio on Awakened Radio. And it's, of course, with some sadness I'm moving on, and there's also some joy in following the inner guidance, because as you know, if you've been listening to any of my broadcasts, you know that that is what I'm all about. And if I don't live it myself, I should not be sitting here sharing my message with you, right? So it's been coming for a while. Actually, last year, I think it was, I took a break. I wasn't sure what was right anymore. And I listened, and I took a break, and I listened. And that's how it is a lot of the time. And I think it's nice to use myself as an example for you of how things unfold. Sometimes you don't know why. But something deeper inside knows something, and it's trying to come through. It's trying to communicate itself with us, and it's our job to listen. And I think it's a lifelong learning process to get to listen and understand this new language that comes from deep within, from the body, from our soul, our essence. So there is a way that it communicates with us. And because we have been so accustomed to not listening to that voice, to that movement, to that prompting, it's going to take a little while to really learn to speak that language again. And it's very, very different than what we're used to. You know, a lot of the times it's almost opposite of what we're used to. And because most people on the planet, not everyone, but most people on the planet have been ignoring this voice, this movement inside. So it's like it's a stranger that we don't know if we can trust. And it's a language we don't even understand. Most people don't even understand the language of their body. And it's amazing how we have survived for so long by while we've been out of touch with that inside of us that sustains us, that fulfills us, that guides us, that fills us full with who we already are. But as long as we keep closing the doors and turning down the volume or turning it off, the broadcasting off, of course we can't hear it. And what do we listen to instead? Well, we listen to what other people say and do, people who have also turned down the volume or turned off the broadcast, who are walking around blindly, and that's where that, maybe we should say deaf here. It's like where that quote comes from the Bible, where the blind lead the blind, or the deaf lead the deaf. Nobody's hearing, nobody's aware of what's really going on. And because everybody else is doing it, we think, well, then I better do it too, then because it must be right. And that's a tricky one. And it's scary in the beginning to start turning away from what everybody else is saying, doing, believing, creating, right? We go like, well, everybody's doing this. It seems like that's the evolution of time, that we're going this direction. But there is something when we stop and listen instead of just blindly following the deaf or deafly following the blind, and turn within and start listening. We will realize there is something inside of us that knows something, that wants us to know something, that wants us to connect with something deeper in ourselves, so we can get on that movement that brings us the fulfillment that we're looking for. And as long as we keep following the blind or the deaf, we get maybe a false sense of belonging. We're not alone. Somehow we feel safe and secure because at least we're not alone. Other people are doing it. And let's be honest with ourselves. I can certainly relate to that, mostly in the past. But I can still feel that, that when somebody resonates with what I'm saying and feeling and doing and moving towards, so that feels good inside. I notice that something in me relaxes. Right, and that's because we're used to living, in tribes, as herds, where our survival depended on us being together. So it's deeply ingrained, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think it's natural for us to be in tribes, in groups, in communities, but those that we have been participating in, they were based on values that were not coming from deep inside of us. And that's where the change is going to happen. I do believe that we will live more in community, much more than we are now, but in a very different way. And the reason that I'm saying that is that I hear so many people having that longing, right? When they go inside and listen to their heart, and it's just like, it's almost everybody I talk to these days, whether it's here in Santa Cruz, where we are more living that way anyway, but also when I travel and go outside of Santa Cruz or even outside of the U.S. When I talk to people who are somewhat or very much in touch with themselves, that's the longing, that's the vision and the dream. And I don't think we can ignore that. I don't think that's a mistake. For me, that is simply the new energy coming in. And it's so wonderful that more and more of us really are listening to that. And then when we hear others say the same, again, right, then we don't feel so alone because we're moving in an opposite direction of what most other people do. So here we are, learning how to listen, learning the new language, and specifically letting go of the old language. It's like stop speaking a language that's not current anymore. It's old, it's outdated. Most people still speak it because that's all they know, it's all they've learned, that's all they teach in the schools, at the universities. So of course that's the only language we know. But there are other schools showing up all over the world, and that school is about going within, listen to your body, listen to your wisdom, start trusting it. And they're not as big as all these other old schools from the past, but they are sprouting up everywhere. And more people are attracted to going there, and it's really wonderful. So that is that new energy that I always talk about. It's coming in many different ways. And the more we listen to that, the more we will let go of the old. Last week I talked about what is your veil made of, right? What are the false identities that you are living by, holding on to and believing, and most of the time without even knowing it. And that's why I like to share this here in my books, in my radio broadcast, in my e-zine, in when I work with clients, with everything I do. It's really helping people learn a new language so they can start going inside, and so that they can start listening to their beautiful heart, which is where this new wisdom is coming from. It's not coming from the mind. When you're struggling for an answer, the first place we go is to the mind, right? And it can be in any situation, it could be a physical challenge you're going through, right? The first thing we all go is to the internet, Google, the symptoms, find out what it is. We go to this trying to figure out what it is. And again, nothing wrong with that, as long as we also stay connected to our heart, because our heart may motivate us to go and check something out on the internet so that it will help our mind relax. It may show us what else is available. It may point us to a teaching, a teacher, a book, something that will help us listen deeper, or that will help us heal something in an easy, effortless way until we can fully let ourselves be filled full from the inner wisdom. So at some point we do not need these outer devices, but that's into the future. For now, we need a lot of that because we have lived in the veil, right? We have lived as if this veil is all there is. And that's why in the veil, we have found solutions for things that happen only in the veil. You see, you have a disease. This is a veil experience. And then in that same veil, you find a cure or a solution for this disease. But remember, like we talked about last week, it's still all made from the fabric of the veil. And we can keep continuing and knitting and patching and keep being identified with the veil, keep looking for solutions for the veil, and stay in the veil that way. And we have done that for a long time, and thank God that we have found so many wonderful solutions in the veil to take care of the veil. But my friends, it's time to leave the veil behind. It's time to slowly start unhooking from the veil, right? It's like this fabric that we're stuck in. We have our little tendrils in there. They're stuck in there. And as long as we're stuck in there, all we can do is look for solutions to solve the problems that we have in the veil. And there are many, many problems. And the problems are getting bigger and stronger and more intense, right? If you look around the world, all the things that are happening, and I don't think I need to mention any of them because there's so many that you will know probably at least 10 minimum. And that is all happening in the veil. There are people who are really still looking for solutions in the veil, and I think it's a really good thing. Maybe we can remedy some of the problems that are happening in the veil, so at least the veil is still intact enough for us to survive in the veil. But there's the other thing happening, that it's not enough. The veil is disintegrating. I don't know if disintegrating is the right word. I guess it is disintegrating, and that's actually a really, really good thing. And in that disintegration, many people, most people are freaking out because all they have known for lifetimes is falling away. And this veil seems to have been our survival and our safety and security. And what do we do without it, right? So that's why they're trying to keep together and to try and hold together so we can stay safe. But the reality is that the veil is being torn apart, and it is scary, and it is, it's very scary for most people because we don't know what's going to happen. Is our beautiful planet going to fall apart? Is everything going to be polluted? Is there going to be enough food? People going to get sick? Everybody going to die? There's all that, but it's still all happening in the veil. As long as it's happening, by all means, let's do everything we can to bring love and support and connection to all these things that are really falling apart, because the fear that's going around the world is huge. People are freaking out and they don't know what to do. So there is something else happening, and that is something that is outside of the veil. And that is what I have been talking about for quite a while, and that's what I will continue to talk about, because that is all that I'm seeing right now. We need to get out of the veil and start creating something from a deep, deep place inside of us. And the more we can listen to that, the more we can become outlet for this new energy that is going to be so different than what we're used to from the veil. We talked some about last week about what this veil is made of, right? And I talked some about the character styles that we have, the belief systems, the core beliefs, all these things that seem, they seem as if that is who we are. We don't really know the difference between who we truly are and who we think we are. It's, for most people, there is no separation there. There's no gap. And we want to start creating a gap so that the part of you that is who you are, we can call it the observer. In many spiritual circles, it's called the observer. And when you start connecting with the observer, you can see that there's you observing, and then there is that which you observe. And you notice that there are actually two things, right? There's observing and observed. And I do have a CD set called it's called, what is it called? 6 Simple Steps to Serenity. It's the CD set on meditation and mindfulness that I've been teaching at the UC Santa Cruz here where I live. And it really helps you separate this identity that you think you are from who you truly are. You learn to create a gap so that you can observe the observed and realize that you are not that which you are observing, whether it's a real thing in the quote unquote real world, or if it's something in your mind or in your body or belief or something. You start creating a gap so you can see that you are not that. And that's that's a very important piece, because when you start realizing that, oh, I'm not that belief that I'm not good enough, or I'm not that belief that I have to do it all on my own. You start simply seeing that. And what I actually wanted to have talked more about last week, but the time went so fast, was that we need to empty out the old wine in order to let in the new. You may have heard the quote in the Bible, don't pour new wine into old wineskins. And the challenge here is that most of us think that what is in the bag is, or what is in the wineskin, what is in the skin is the skin. So we don't even really consider emptying it out, because we think the wineskin with this wine that has gone sour, it's one thing. That's how we see ourselves. But they're not. And it's good news, So when you start realizing that, oh, I am not this belief that blah, 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 then you can start pouring it out of the wineskin, of your consciousness. You can just start emptying it out. Now, how do you do that? Well, I always talk about this, the all formula. You learn to allow it first, because there is an inherent resistance to it. And the allowing is only the antidote for resistance. It is not the solution. It's not the goal. It's a tool we use to unhook. Imagine you think you are everything that's in the wine bag that's gone sour, right? And you're clinging on to the wine bag because you think it's all one thing, and you don't even know that it's separate. That's where you need to learn, by allowing yourself to see what's in the bag without judging it, without resisting it, without trying to get rid of it. You simply start allowing, and little by little, you can almost imagine if you're gripping onto the side of the wineskin, then as you just allow yourself to see what you're seeing, then your grip loosens. And then you realize, oh, look at that. I wasn't that. I am not that. And then it naturally starts dissolving. There's some more things you need to, be present with in that process. But that is the first step to unhook from the veil, from the old paradigm, by just seeing it. And when you stop resisting it, by allowing it, then you create this space. And the space is what we want to talk about, right? Because once you are able to empty out by allowing, it's like when you allow it, it just dissolves. It does dissolve on its own. It may not happen overnight, probably not, because we have a lot of sour wine in there that we thought is who we were. So it takes time, and for some people it may go a little faster, for some a little slower. It doesn't really matter. It's all the process. We all need to go through it. But it's so helpful to really see that you are not that. And if you need help with that, with learning to allow, then seek out help. And actually, if you want to, and if you want to stay connected with me now that I'm moving on, you can go to my website at LillaRose.com, LillaRose.com, and you can sign your name in there, and then you will receive my emails. And right now, I actually just started sending out a little mini series where I'm breaking down this whole formula called the all formula. First, we talk about resistance, what it is, and how to stop doing it. And then we go into the all formula. So it's broken down into 4 emails, and it's not too late. If you go and put your name on, you can still receive them, or you can always go to my blog, because I always post everything that I send out on my blog. So you can read it there. And And this will help you, So if you want to stay connected and really learn this, then please receive these emails because they're very, very helpful. I got some wonderful feedback from a few people, and they really want to start practicing it. So I want to give you all the support I can give you, because I want to live in a world where we live in harmony with ourselves, and you don't live in harmony with yourself when you are resisting yourself. So learning to allow will really serve you and everybody you know in the whole world. Trust me, it's so powerful. When you incorporate it, it will give you so much energy. And that's because you create a new space. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about in a little bit. We have a few more minutes before the break, but we will come and we will talk about this. It's another quote that you may have heard that says, it's either nature abhors a vacuum or God or spirit abhors a vacuum. And that's why when you let go of the holding on through your resistance or identifying with something, and then you create a gap. And then it's like, well, what do you do now? And what we normally do is try and fill up that space or that gap right away with something from the mind. Or we go online or read a book and try and fill it up with something new. Can be very helpful. It can be very helpful to receive new understanding, so you can keep doing it, right? You might study, quote unquote, study the all formula and then just go over that. So it can be very helpful for you to stay separate from what you previously thought was you. But eventually, we want to turn our attention to the observer, or to the space, to the vacuum that's created, and open ourselves up to receive what is already in there. God is everywhere. Omnipresence, omniscience, omnipotence. You may have heard those quotes or those terms. It's everywhere. So it's not necessarily that God fills up a vacuum, because God is already there. And you can, whatever God is for you, spirit, nature, stillness, presence, doesn't matter. It's already there. But we are the ones who have turned away from that and focused on what the mind says. And now that we are unhooking from that, now we can open up and receive what was already there, but we were not paying attention to it. And then when we really start paying attention to that, that's when we will experience how it is everywhere and how it fills up everything and fulfills everything. And that's what we're going to talk a little more about in the last part of this broadcast. But I would invite you to just go to my website, which is lilarose.com, and check out and see if there's anything there that resonates with you. My book called Imagine Being Kind to Yourself, is, it has exercises. It has a lot of support for you if you want to learn to listen to yourself. If we don't know how to listen to ourselves, it's simply because nobody ever taught us. That's all. But now there's so much support all around the world, and it's just a matter of saying yes to it. So it looks like we're just about to go on a break here. So just take a moment and really feel into what is truly important for you, and do you really want to start listening to yourself? And we're going to go on a break, and we'll continue in a minute.
You are listening to the Awakened Radio Network. Please visit our website at awakenedradio.net. Today's broadcast is brought to you in part by How to Stay Motivated for Success by Donna Devane. Steps for living the successful lifestyle. Donna Devane brings you coaching in print. Rather than just a book, this information guides you step by step through a gentle and fun process that, if applied, will take you gently through changing out old limiting beliefs. The process is so easy that the ego will not resist and will actually work with you to help transform your beliefs, thinking, and daily actions as you gather proof that the invisible is always working to bring you what you ask for. Discover the fun and easy way to make success a lifestyle. Available autographed in the Awakened store at awakenradio.net. Also available in print and Kindle at Amazon and other online retail outlets. Have you considered hosting your own show? Want to be part of an up and growing, ever-expanding, loving, supporting, caring network? Well, Awakened Radio just might be the place for you. Visit awakenradio.net today. Look at the top where it says Be a Host. Click on that and you can read all about what we offer here on the Awakened Radio Network platform. You can also add Awakened Radio to your Skype and send our station owner and director, Donna Devane, a typed message, and she will be sure to make a time available to have a conversation with you on how you can get your passion, your message out to our global audience. Remember, visit awakenedradio.net today.
Hello and welcome to Evolutionary Women Radio Show with Pernilla Rose, where authentic feminine power is making a difference in the world. Welcome back, my friends, to this last show of Evolutionary Women Radio with your host, Pernilla Rose. I think this last show is really kind of a wrapping up and of everything we've been talking about and really adding a new important piece here to how to let ourselves be filled with this new energy now that we know that the old energy is not working for us or the world anymore. For most of us, it can be very scary to face emptiness or a vacuum, right? We know that when, for instance, if a relationship ends or a job ends or somebody dies, right? It leaves us in a space of emptiness. Something is missing. And the most common thing is to go and fill that up with something. Can be anything. Can be food, can be TV, can be drugs, can be anything. As long as we don't have to face this empty space. And if I can say anything, any magic word to inspire you to find out what is this empty space made of? What is it really? What if it was not empty? What if it only seemed empty because we haven't really looked? You know, if you think of nature, when it says nature abhors a vacuum, if there is a forest fire somewhere and everything burns down, right? It doesn't take more than a year, probably less, before everything starts sprouting again and new growth starts coming up. You know, maybe not the big trees, that's going to take a little longer. But in the soil itself, even though it may look empty and barren after a forest fire, all the potential is still in the soil. That did not die. And as a matter of fact, there are a number of plants or trees that can only start sprouting if they have been in a very, very hot environment. So you can see nature has already prepared it that if there should be something like a forest fire, the seeds are made in a way so that when they're in the ground, they will come back because the fire is actually what will help it grow back. Without the fire, these seeds would not sprout. And that's how nature prepares everything for its own survival, for its own growth and continuation of what's happening here. That's how it is with everything. But we don't know that, right? If you look at a place that's burnt down by a forest fire, you go, oh my God, how are we going to get new trees and new shrubs and new flowers, and how is the whole environment going to come back? Well, give it a little time, give it a little water, and boom, it just starts growing everywhere. And this is not different because nature is God. So when we say nature abhors a vacuum, God, it's the same. God abhors a vacuum. It's the same. Nature is the divine expressing itself, and it fills up everything. And the space that seems empty when we look out, that we can call, when there are no plants or flowers or people or buildings, there's space, right? There's space everywhere. This space is not empty. It just seems empty to our eyes, to our senses. But again, can we learn to use our sixth sense, or can we open up our heart so we can start tuning in or leaning into the emptiness and allow the emptiness or the vacuum to show us, to fill us full with what is already there. This takes some practice. This takes learning to listen to and from your sixth sense, or from your body wisdom, or from your heart. Again, I don't really care what we call it. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you can feel it and sense it and go like, oh, now I get something. And then you go, but can I trust that? It's so new. Nobody's ever told me that before. And am I the only one who feels that or senses that? And you may be the only one in your environment. And that's okay. If you can find somebody, if you're listening to this broadcast today, then I say yes, that is it. That may be the beginning sensations of a new language that you're going to learn to trust more and speak and listen to. So yes, that is it. And this broadcast here is here to support you in trusting that. And you can always go back to all my old broadcasts. They're all, I have them all on my website at lilarose.com, all the replays. And you can listen to them again because I go through a lot of these steps very, very often because we all need to learn it, step by step. If you learn a new language, you don't just go to one class and then you know it all. Right? You take it home, you practice it, you practice the new alphabet, you practice the new sounds, the new ways of speaking, the new words, the new sentences, how it goes together. And then you find out as you start practicing that it's not linear. It's like, oh, sometimes it goes like this, and another times you say it like this. So it's never a linear process when you learn a new language, and that of course includes the body language or spirit language. It's something you start tuning into, and you allow the language, the body sensations to teach you. So that's where we need to learn to be so open to receive something that we don't really know what is, and that we don't even know what it means yet. One really good thing is to learn to unhook from the veil, from the resistance to it. And then you create a space. And this space is pregnant with spirit, with wisdom, with the new energy. This open space, this which you may feel as an empty vacuum that scares you, that makes you sad, that makes you feel lonely. See if you can start turning that way of seeing it around and be curious about it instead of trying to fill it up with something else, so you don't have to feel the emptiness. Now you can be open to finding out, wow, what if this emptiness is more than what I'm seeing? What if this emptiness is filled with something that I have never even turned to, never ever turned to before? So I want to hopefully inspire you to open up to letting the empty space speak to you, so that when you unhook from the veil, you create a gap. Instead of filling the gap with some things from the veil, some other things from the veil, which is what we do, right? Let's really be honest with ourselves. We do this all the time, but try and do differently. Try to catch yourself next time if you are in a situation where you feel empty, sad, lonely, where it's just a big vacuum. See what happens if you, instead of getting identified with the sadness around it or whatever it is, see if you can find a place in your heart to be curious and say, wow, what is this? Now there is a gap. I realized I'm not this, and this anymore. And they're like, what am I then? What am I then? It's like, well, just be quiet. You just be quiet. Because now that liberated tendril, that's kind of your consciousness that was embedded in the veil. Now, if you can see it as a tendril, now it's free, or see it as an antenna, it's free. And now it can start tuning in to the gap or the space or the vacuum that's all around it, now that it's not stuck in there. So just let yourself tune in to the emptiness. And then you can start asking really wise questions, such as, you show me who I am. I know I'm not this, that, and the other anymore. And I don't want to try and figure out or become something else again. Maybe you figured out that you're not useless. And then you go to well, then I'm worthy. You thought you were unworthy. And now you're going to, I'm worthy. See if you can just suspend that and stay in that open space and let your liberated consciousness tune into that space. And so you just ask the question, who am I then? And then you wait. You don't try and fill up this space with your mind. You don't go online to figure out the answer to that question. You let the space come to you and answer it. And it comes in a different way than you're used to. You may not recognize it in the beginning. But if you keep doing that, you sit down and you may ask a question such as, well, how did you create me in your image and likeness? And you ask this space, right? This space is spirit, it's God, it's everywhere. So you pose the question to the space, to the emptiness, to the vacuum. And then you are opening up to receiving. Right? So, and if it's true that God abhors a vacuum, it will rush in and inform you what the answer is to your question. It probably won't come in words, but it may. But it will come as a feeling. If it comes in words, it will also come as a feeling, as a body knowing, where you can't really argue with it because it's like your whole body knows something. And you can't argue with it because it's just so real and alive. So you just open up, right? How do you see me? How have you always seen me? Even when I turned away from myself and saw myself as unworthy and unlovable, How have you seen me all along? And then you wait. You simply wait. And you may have to wait for a while. You just take that question. You can walk around with questions like these during your day, but sit down at times. Take 5, 10, 30, 60 minutes if you have it. Sit down. If you need to, light a little candle, play some music that helps your mind relax from trying to figure it out. Do whatever you need to do to help create a space for you where you can receive, where you can let this vacuum be filled by spirit. And only spirit can do that. Your mind cannot. Your mind can only fill itself with itself, which is more of the veil. So you might even have another question that resonates more with you. And use that. You use the questions as it's like you throw a pebble in the pond and you let the ripples come to you. You don't go out there looking for it. You sit down. You make yourself as receptive as you can. You open up to receive. And I know for myself and for most people that I know that receiving has been very difficult because we have been so accustomed and so conditioned to having to do it all ourselves that receiving is a very new experience. And I would say that's probably part of the new energy that where we are learning to receive everything that will make us happy, fulfilled, relaxed, all the things that we're looking and longing for. It's all around us. And it's more available to us now than it has been for a long, long time. But we still need to make ourselves available for that. So you could ask a question like, how can I receive you? And when I say you, it could be spirit, it could be the spaciousness, it could be presence, stillness. Again, whatever it is that resonates with you, that's it. So let's take a moment and just ask that question. How can I receive the truth of my being? And then you go within and you really go into your body and let yourself feel the longing to know, right? And then you connect with that place inside of you. And you may have to really admit to yourself many, many times that I just don't know. I just don't know. And every time we say I don't know, we open up a space for this vacuum to be filled, right? We create a vacuum so that spirit can come in and let us know what we don't know. But it's not coming from the mind. That's the big difference here. It's coming from the spirit that is everywhere, always and all the time. And we need to open ourselves up to that. And it takes being very humble and vulnerable, because most of us also have been conditioned that it's not okay not to know. Like it's as if there's something wrong with us and we feel stupid and dumb if we don't know. But it's the opposite. So many things are opposite these days. The new energy is very, very opposite of what we've been used to. So if you don't know, I congratulate you. When I was in India many years ago learning, I became a blessing giver. It was an energy transfer that I was initiated in giving. And I remember the teachers there, they would say things like, if you are not helpless, I am helpless. And that was, as if it was God saying it. So it was kind of an encouragement to make yourself helpless in the eyes of the divine. Make yourself helpless, make yourself available, make yourself not knowing anything, And then that's the only way that spirit can rush in and fill our helplessness with competence. But it's coming from our deepest level of being. And it's so beautiful because once it starts filling us up, and once we start trusting that and allowing it into our life, it's going to fill up everything in our lives. I remember years ago when I was teaching a class here about, I can't remember what the title was. It was a workshop. But I used this metaphor of, you can buy these little, what are they, little sponges or something that sometimes have been really compressed. So they're very hard and dry and tight. And if you put them in water, they soak up the water and then they open up and they expand. And if you see these when they're still very hard and contracted, they may have kinks in them and, all the little holes that you normally find in a sponge, they're very closed, right? It's like there's not much that can move through that. And that's how our bodies are. That's how our beings are, because we are so contracted, because we have not been letting in the divine. We have been holding ourselves together and trying to figure it all out on our own. And it didn't work very well, did it? It may have worked to a certain degree. We may have a little success here and a little healing there. But generally, there's always this contracted space that we become, because we're not letting in spirit. So if I can leave you with a metaphor of being this dried out, tight sponge, and all this sponge needs to do is to be put in a glass of water or in a bathtub, right? You just put it in a bathtub with water and you don't do anything, right? The sponge may say to the water, well, show me how I am when I'm in my most soft, expanded, yummy state, because I don't know how to do that. But the only thing we need to do is put ourselves in the spirit of energy, in the energy of spirit, right? In the bathtub of spirit. We just go in there, and we can use that as a metaphor. Take a bath and imagine that you're letting yourself soak in spirit to be filled full in all the areas that you have been tight, that you have been keeping spirit out. And then just let yourself soak. And that's what we do when we do it as a meditation. We just sit there. We make ourselves available for the water to fill the sponge. And what happens is that a lot of the areas in our life that may seem dry and rigid, they start filling up. We allow this energy in. We receive this energy and things start to expand, soften, and become more who we are when we are not so tight. And this may affect every area of our life. It could mean that physical problems go away, money problems, relationship problems, because that is all just an expression of being this tight, dried out sponge. And that nothing's flowing through, right? Everything is stuck and arid and just like nothing is happening there. But when we put ourselves in that space and we can ask the question, and the questions are only like the sponge doesn't need to ask the water. And we really don't need to ask the water or the spirit, but if it helps our mind to receive, then by all means do it. Use any question. If it helps the mind to relax so that we can receive spirit, well, then it certainly served a good purpose, hasn't it? So let's just take a moment here and just open up and pretend you're going into a bathtub filled with spirit. And you have been longing for this. right? You've been starving for this, thirsting for this. So now you just let yourself in there and let yourself receive it. And you can just stay in there as long as you want. You can take a bath in that as often as you feel moved to. And most of us need a lot of baths like that because we have a lot of dry spots. And they don't all fill up at once because a lot of the hinges are so rusty that they need to soften first so we can actually start receiving. So I think that's a wonderful way to end this broadcast called Evolutionary Women Radio, where we simply sit in the bathtub to receive spirit and let it fill us full. That helps dissolve the veil, and it helps us wake up and realize that we are not the veil and that there's so much more beyond the veil once we know how to dissolve it. So my friends, this has been so wonderful to spend almost 2 years with you. I sure hope that you want to stay connected, and I want to encourage you or invite you to sign up on my website so you will receive my e-zine. I usually send it out maybe once a week or every other week. I've been a little slow for a while, but right now it's going to be a 4-part email series, and where you will learn how to allow, listen, and love, and really learn how to sit in this bathtub of spirit. And I also want to invite you to sign up for one of my free 30-minute discovery sessions, because then we can explore this together. And during the month of April, in that little email series that I'm offering, I'm actually, if you sign up for a discovery session, then we'll find out where you're at in your life, where you want to go, and where you feel stuck, and if I might be the right support for you to move through the stuckness into freedom. And because I'm sending out this little email series, I also am giving away 2 free full sessions a week during the month of April. And so if you sign up for a discovery session, you do need to do a discovery session. Anybody, before I work with anyone, I always want them to go through a discovery session so we can get to know each other and know if we would be a good team to work together. But if you do that, and if it feels like, this is something that really resonates with you, then you'll be able to be part of the 8 people in the month of April, 2 a week, who will, I don't know if the word win is the right word, but let's just call it win, full 1-hour session with me, where we can really start digging in and doing some deeper work and really help you become more free. So that's kind of my completion for here. I want to thank Donna so much for having had me on this show. It's been just such a gift. And if any of you are moved to try out, to become a radio host, this is really a wonderful, wonderful platform to start and just do it. Don't hold back. Just give it to yourself and try it out. It's safe, very supportive, very loving. And I'm just so grateful that I took that leap 2 years ago and started flying and found my voice and just started expanding into what I really want, what I love to do. So my blessings to you, Donna, to Awaken Radio, and all the hosts here and all the wonderful listeners who've been here with me. And I wish you all blessed day, and hope to connect with you later. Much, much love to you all.